1 month after the failed attack on Earth, the Grand Meeting Hall of the Human Defense Initiative hosted an unusual gathering. Representatives from every Earth nation sat on one side, while the alien leadership, now stripped of their pretense of being separate factions, sat on the other. Admiral Walker stood at the central podium, Thomas Reed and Dr. Miller flanking him on either side. The terms they were about to present had been carefully crafted to reshape the galaxy's future. For centuries, Walker began, your civilization has grown through deception and forced recruitment. You turned 7 species into unwilling soldiers, thinking quantity would always beat quality. Today, that changes. The alien leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Their once grand robes seemed less impressive now, their authority diminished by their failure to subjugate Earth. Earth will not be your 8th conquered species, Walker continued. Instead, we offer something you've never considered, genuine cooperation. Reed stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed a new map of space. We'd proposed the establishment of a neutral zone, with Earth at its center. No military recruitment, no forced alliances, a true diplomatic space where species can meet and trade as equals. The Grand Mediator, now much humbled, spoke up. And if we refuse? Dr. Miller touched a control, and the screens around the room displayed data about Earth's technological achievements. In 1 month, using only the small samples of technology you gave us, we matched and then surpassed your capabilities in several areas. Imagine what we could do with a year, or 10. But that's not what we want, Walker added quickly. We're not interested in replacing one empire with another. We're offering you a chance to evolve beyond your military obsession. Dr. Hayes joined them, bringing up displays of new technological developments. We've already improved your shield systems, engine designs, and energy management. We're willing to share these improvements, under the right conditions. The alien leaders whispered among themselves, clearly shocked by the advancements displayed. One of them, wearing the insignia of their science division, spoke up. How did you progress so quickly? Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, Reed explained. It's our ability to look at problems differently. While you spent centuries perfecting one approach, we found new ways to solve the same challenges. Walker nodded to a diplomatic aide, who distributed tablets containing Earth's proposed treaty. Our terms are simple. Dissolve your military recruitment program. Free the species you've enslaved. Join us in creating a genuine galactic community based on mutual respect and cooperation. And if we agree? The Grand Mediator asked, studying the treaty terms. Then we share our improvements freely, Walker replied. Earth becomes a neutral meeting ground for all species. Instead of forcing civilizations into military service, we work together to advance everyone's capabilities. Dr. Miller brought up one final display. The locations of Earth's hidden defensive systems. We've already established a planetary defense network that exceeds anything in your arsenal. We don't show you this as a threat, but as proof that humanity can be a valuable ally rather than a conquered asset. The alien leaders huddled together, discussing quietly. Finally, the Grand Mediator stood. For the first time in our history, a species has not only resisted us, but offered a better path forward. We accept your terms. As the alien leaders began signing the treaty, Walker looked out over the assembly. Human ingenuity had not only prevented their conquest, but had created an opportunity to reshape galactic society. They had turned a potential disaster into a chance for genuine progress. Let this be remembered, Walker announced to the gathered assembly, as the day when humanity showed the galaxy a different way forward. Not through force or deception, but through innovation, unity, and the courage to chart a new course. The signing ceremony concluded with something never before seen in the galaxy's history, genuine applause from both humans and aliens alike. A new era was beginning, shaped not by military might, but by humanity's unique ability to imagine something better. Dr. Anna Miller hadn't slept in 36 hours, but she couldn't stop now. Her office in the underground section of the Global Defense Command Center was filled with holographic displays showing intercepted alien communications. Coffee cups littered her desk, and her eyes burned from staring at code sequences. "There's something we're missing," she muttered, rubbing her tired eyes. The aliens' encrypted messages were getting easier to break, but that felt wrong somehow. Too easy. A knock at her door made her jump. Admiral Walker entered, carrying fresh coffee. "Tell me you found something worth missing all this sleep," he said, handing her a cup. "Look at this," she said, pulling up multiple transmissions. Each alien faction is using a slightly different encryption method, but they all have the same flaw. It's like they want us to crack their basic communications. Walker frowned. "A trap?" "More like a test," Miller replied, taking a sip of coffee. "They're watching to see if we're Dr. Anna Miller hadn't slept in 36 hours, but she couldn't stop now. Her office in the underground section of the Global Defense Command Center was filled with holographic displays showing intercepted alien communications. Coffee cups littered her desk, and her eyes burned from staring at code sequences. "There's something we're missing," she muttered, rubbing her tired eyes. The aliens' encrypted messages were getting easier to break, but that felt wrong somehow. Too easy. A knock at her door made her jump. Admiral Walker entered, carrying fresh coffee. "Tell me you found something worth missing all this sleep," he said, handing her a cup. "Look at this," she said, pulling up multiple transmissions. Each alien faction is using a slightly different encryption method, but they all have the same flaw. It's like they want us to crack their basic communications. Walker frowned. "A trap?" "More like a test," Miller replied, taking a sip of coffee. "They're watching to see if we're smart enough to break their codes. The ones we're breaking are just the surface level. But I found something deeper." She typed quickly, bringing up a new display. Hidden under all that fake encryption is the real communication network. It took me weeks to find it, but once I did, she pressed a button, and the room filled with new messages. Walker's eyes widened as he read. "They're bidding on us." "Like we're resources at an auction," Miller confirmed grimly. "Each faction has already divided Earth into potential training zones. The deserts for combat training, oceans for naval operations, mountains for survival courses. They're not planning to help us join their galaxy. They're planning to turn our whole planet into a military training facility." She pulled up more data. "And it gets worse. These medical advances they're offering, their combat enhancement procedures, the diplomatic gifts, training simulators disguised as entertainment devices. Even the cultural exchange programs they're pushing are meant to identify our most aggressive traits for weapons development." Walker walked around the room, studying the messages. "How many other species have they done this to?" Miller brought up a new screen. "At least 7 that I can find records of. Each one thought they were being welcomed into the galactic community. Instead, they got turned into specialized combat units. The Silver Guards, the Unity Forces, the Star Warriors, all of them used to be independent civilizations. And now they're the same aliens trying to recruit us," Walker said, understanding dawning on his face. "They're not separate factions at all, are they?" "No," Miller confirmed. "They're all part of the same military structure. The whole faction rivalry is a show. They're creating fake competition to pressure us into choosing quickly before we realize what's really happening. Once a species picks a side, they're locked into military service by the terms of the diplomatic agreements they signed." Walker was quiet for a moment, processing this information. "How long before they realize we figured this out?" "Hard to say," Miller answered, bringing up more data. "They think we're at a primitive technological stage. Their psychological profiles of humanity are based on our public broadcasts, entertainment shows, news, social media. They think we're divided, easily manipulated, and desperate to join galactic society." A slight smile crossed Walker's face. "Then we'll let them keep thinking that. Keep monitoring their communications, but don't let them know we've broken their real encryption. We need time to prepare." "Prepare for what?" Miller asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. To show them that humanity doesn't play by their rules, Walker replied, his voice firm. They think they're testing us. Well, we'll give them a test of our own. Keep working on those transmissions. I need to talk to the Security Council about our next move. As Walker left, Miller turned back to her screens, new energy replacing her exhaustion. The aliens thought they were so clever, playing their recruitment game. But they were about to learn that humans were very, very good at changing the rules. The United Nations Assembly Hall had never been so quiet. Representatives from every nation sat in tense silence as Admiral Walker finished presenting the evidence Dr. Miller had uncovered. The massive screens behind him showed decoded alien transmissions, military plans, and details of other enslaved species. They expect us to fight among ourselves, Walker said, his voice echoing in the quiet hall. Their records show they've succeeded with this tactic 7 times before. They create artificial competition, wait for nations to make separate deals, and then use those agreements to take control. In the front row, the Russian representative stood up. What happens if we simply refuse all contact? They'll likely force the issue, Walker replied. Previous records show they've manufactured conflicts between nations to push them toward choosing sides. The Chinese representative spoke next. Then we must do what they don't expect. We must unite. Murmurs filled the hall as Walker nodded. Exactly. For the first time in their history of recruitment, they'll face a species that refuses to play their game at all. The next few hours changed the course of human history. Nations that had been enemies for generations found common ground in the face of this threat. Old rivalries were set aside as the Assembly worked to create something unprecedented. The Human Defense Initiative, HFY. All military forces will remain under national control, the American representative explained, pointing to the new organizational structure displayed on the screens. But the HFY will coordinate our responses to alien contact. No nation acts alone. No separate deals. We stand together, or we don't stand at all. In the weeks that followed, the world changed. Military units from different nations began joint training exercises. Scientists shared research freely across borders. Intelligence agencies pooled their resources, all while the alien ships watched from orbit, unaware that their usual tactics were failing. At the new HFY headquarters, built deep underground in a neutral location, Admiral Walker met with the Global Response Team. Representatives from every major military power sat around a circular table, their faces illuminated by holographic displays. The aliens are getting impatient, Walker reported. They've started increasing their pressure, offering bigger incentives, hinting at greater threats. The Indian general leaned forward. Let them. Every gift they send, every piece of technology they offer, gives us more to work with. Exactly. The British commander agreed. Our scientists are making breakthrough after breakthrough of studying their diplomatic gifts. But we're keeping those advances hidden. Dr. Miller, now heading the global cryptography team, brought up new data. They're still trying to decode our private communications, looking for signs of conflict between nations. Instead, all they're finding are the surface-level disagreements we're letting them see. Walker smiled. Keep feeding them what they expect. Political squabbles, minor disputes, the usual international friction. Meanwhile, beneath the surface, he gestured, and the center of the table lit up with a hologram showing the world's hidden progress. New defense systems were being built in secret locations. Weapons were being developed based on reversed-engineered alien technology. A global early warning system was nearly complete. For the first time, Walker said, looking around the table, humanity is truly working as one, not because we were forced to, but because we chose to. And that's something these aliens have never encountered before. The Japanese admiral stood up. They think they're watching us tear ourselves apart competing for their favor. Instead, they're watching a carefully staged show while we prepare. How long can we keep this up? Someone asked. Walker's expression was determined. As long as we need to. They think they're testing our worthiness to join their military structure. But we're the ones testing them. Their patience, their tactics, their assumptions about us. And when the time comes to show our real strength. He let the sentence hang, but everyone in the room understood. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive, divided species ready to be conquered through political manipulation. They were about to learn just how wrong they were about humanity's potential for unity. Thomas Reed adjusted his tie as he prepared for another alien delegation. As Earth's newly appointed diplomatic advisor, he had spent the last month meeting with representatives from every supposed faction. Today's visitors were from the so-called Star Brotherhood, their 4th visit this month. "Remember," Admiral Walker said from his position near the window of the diplomatic chamber, "keep them talking, keep them hopeful, but make no promises." Reed nodded, checking his tablet one last time. The room itself was carefully designed to look impressive, but not too advanced. Hanging lights instead of anti-gravity illumination, wooden furniture instead of smart matter chairs, and traditional displays rather than the holographic technology they'd reverse-engineered from previous gifts. The aliens entered, their silvery robes flowing as they walked. Their leader, who called himself the Grand Mediator, smiled with too many teeth. "Honored representatives of Earth, we trust you have considered our generous offer." "Indeed we have," Reed replied, his voice pleasant but non-committal. "Earth's nations are most interested in the cultural exchange programs you propose, though some of our members have raised concerns about the military training aspects." The Grand Mediator's smile flickered slightly. "Merely standard protection protocols. Surely you understand the need for basic defense training in these uncertain times." "Of course," Reed agreed smoothly, though the Unity Collective's recent offer of purely civilian technology has attracted considerable interest from several nations. He watched with hidden satisfaction as the alien's face tightened. Right on cue, a junior aide rushed in and handed Reed a tablet. "Sir," urgent message from the Golden Alliance. "They're offering enhanced terms for their protection agreement." The Grand Mediator stood straighter. "The Star Brotherhood would be willing to improve our terms as well. Perhaps we could discuss this privately." "Transparency in all negotiations is our key principle," Reed replied, knowing this would force the alien to hold back on their more aggressive proposals. "Though we're happy to hear any enhanced offers in the presence of our full diplomatic team." As the meeting continued, Dr. Miller's voice came through Reed's hidden earpiece. "They're sending encrypted messages like crazy. The fake channels are full of frustration. But the real ones, they're getting worried. They've never had a species stay neutral this long." Reed kept his face neutral as he continued the diplomatic dance. For 3 hours, he listened to increasingly generous offers, responded with careful interest but no commitment, and watched the aliens grow more frustrated. When the delegation finally left, Walker stepped forward. "They're starting to realize their usual playbook isn't working." "Yes," Reed agreed, loosening his tie. "They expect us to be eager, desperate for advanced technology. Instead, we're acting cautious, methodical. It's driving them crazy." Dr. Miller joined them, bringing up new data on the room's hidden holographic display. "Every time we delay, they offer more technology as bait. Our scientists have made incredible progress studying these gifts. We've already reversed-engineered their basic shield technology." "How long before they realize we're more advanced than we're showing?" Reed asked. "They're too confident in their own superiority," Walker replied. "They think they're watching a primitive species take its first steps into galactic society. Their arrogance blinds them to what we're really doing." Reed looked at the latest diplomatic schedule. 3 more delegations tomorrow, each thinking they were closer to securing Earth's allegiance, each unaware that humans were playing a much longer game. "The best part," Miller added with a smile, "is that they're so focused on competing with each other, they don't realize it's all a show. Every frustrated message they send on their fake channels just convinces them more that their plan is working, that we're just indecisive primitives." Walker nodded toward the window, where another alien ship was arriving. "Keep them dancing," he said, Every day they spend trying to recruit us is another day we have to prepare. Let them think we're the ones being tested." Reed straightened his tie, ready for the next round of meetings. The aliens thought they were the ones running this diplomatic show. They had no idea they were actually performing in humanity's carefully crafted play. Dr. Robert Hayes walked through the hidden laboratory complex beneath the mountains, his footsteps echoing off steel walls. Around him, scientists from every nation on Earth worked together, studying and improving the alien technology that kept arriving as diplomatic gifts. "Show me what you found," he said to his team as he entered the main research chamber. The room was filled with dismantled alien devices, each one carefully taken apart and studied. A young engineer pointed to a floating screen. "We've cracked their shield technology completely. But that's not the interesting part." She pressed a button, and a simulation appeared. "We've made it better." Hayes watched as the simulation showed their improved version of the alien shield technology. "They designed these shields to protect against their own weapons," he explained. "But we've modified them to be stronger, more efficient, and, most importantly, completely different from anything they'd expect." In another section of the lab, scientists were studying what the aliens had claimed was a simple entertainment device. "It's actually a combat simulator," one researcher reported. "But we've learned more from how they built it than from what it does. Their artificial intelligence is decades ahead of ours, or at least it was." Hayes smiled as he looked at the new computer cores they'd developed, based on studying the alien technology. Humanity hadn't just caught up. In some areas, they'd already moved ahead. The aliens' arrogance in assuming humans couldn't understand their technology had led them to hand over far too much. His tablet beeped. A message from Admiral Walker. "How close are we?" "Closer than they could imagine," Hayes typed back. "Every gift they send us thinking, we'll use it for entertainment or basic industry. We take apart and improve. We're not just learning their technology, we're evolving it." In the weapons development section, teams were working on something completely new. "We took their basic energy weapon design," the lead physicist explained. "But instead of copying it, we created something they've never seen. It uses principles they overlooked, concepts they never considered. Because they've been stuck in their own way of thinking for too long," Hayes nodded. "They've been the dominant force in space for so many centuries. They stopped innovating. But humans, we look at their technology and immediately ask, how can we make this better?" A loud chime echoed through the facility. Another diplomatic gift had arrived. The aliens thought they were being clever, sending technology in small pieces, never revealing too much at once. They didn't realize that humans were exceptionally good at seeing the bigger picture, at connecting dots they never meant to reveal. Dr. Hayes called one of the quantum physics team members. "We've done it. We've figured out how their faster-than-light drives work. And, sir, we found a way to improve them by at least 40%. Hayes hurried over to their station, examining the calculations. This was humanity's greatest advantage, not just learning alien technology, but understanding it so well they could improve upon it. While the aliens thought they were carefully controlling what humans learned, they were actually providing all the pieces needed to surpass them. "Send this to the production facility," Hayes ordered. "But remember, everything we build stays hidden. Let them keep thinking their gifts are beyond our understanding." He looked around the vast laboratory, where thousands of Earth's brightest minds worked together in secret. Above ground, diplomats played for time, pretending to be cautious primitives carefully considering alien offers. Down here, humanity was leaping centuries ahead in technology, preparing for the day when they would reveal just how much they'd learned and improved upon. "Sir," his assistant called, "another diplomatic delegation is arriving. They're bringing more gifts." Hayes smiled. "Good. Let them keep thinking they're the teachers. They haven't realized yet that humans make the best students, especially when we're learning things they never meant to teach." The message from the alien fleet arrived without warning. On every screen in the Global Defense Command Center, the Grand Mediator's face appeared. his expression no longer hiding his frustration. "People of Earth," he announced, "your continued indecision cannot be tolerated any longer. The galaxy requires order. You will choose your protectors within the next planetary rotation, or we will be forced to demonstrate why our protection is necessary." Admiral Walker stood calmly in the command center, watching as more alien ships appeared on their sensors. They were dropping their pretense now. All their vessels were shifting from diplomatic configuration to combat mode. "They're not even trying to maintain the separate faction line anymore," Dr. Miller noted, monitoring the communications. "They're using their real command channels openly now." Walker pressed a button on his command console. "All HDI stations, this is Admiral Walker. Implementation of protocol revelation begins now." Around the world, hidden installations hummed to life. Shield generators that the aliens thought were simple power stations activated, creating a defensive barrier far more powerful than anything the aliens had ever given Earth. Weapon systems disguised as communication towers powered up, their capabilities far beyond what humanity was supposed to possess. In orbit, satellites that appeared to be primitive communication relays transformed, revealing advanced defense platforms. The aliens had never bothered to scan them closely, assuming Earth's technology was too primitive to be worth examining. "Their fleet is moving into attack position," reported Lieutenant Peters. "They're charging weapons." "Let them come," Walker said quietly. "It's time to show them what humanity can really do." The alien fleet fired their first warning shot, a massive energy blast aimed at an uninhabited area in the Pacific Ocean. But instead of impacting, the blast disappeared, absorbed completely by shields that shouldn't have existed. In the command center, Dr. Hayes monitored the shield performance. "The improved version works perfectly. They're not just blocked. We're capturing their weapon energy and adding it to our shield strength." The Grand Mediator's face appeared again, now showing clear shock. "Impossible. Those shields. How did you? Did you really think we were just admiring your gifts?" Walker replied, allowing himself a small smile. "Humanity has a long history of learning from those who underestimate us." The alien fleet launched a full attack, expecting to easily overwhelm what they thought was a primitive civilization. Instead, their weapons either dissipated harmlessly against Earth's shields or were redirected back at them with devastating accuracy. "They're trying to activate their superior engines to regroup," Miller reported, watching their movements. "But our improved gravity generators are preventing them from engaging their faster-than-light drives." Walker nodded. "Send the message." On every alien ship, screens came to life showing recordings of their own secret communications, their real plans for Earth, their history of enslaving other species. Along with it came detailed scans showing exactly how much Earth had advanced while playing the role of technological primitives. "Impossible," the Grand Mediator sputtered. "You couldn't have. You're not advanced enough to break your codes." Miller's voice cut in. "To improve your technology. To see through your deception. You spent so much time convinced of your superiority that you never considered we might be more capable than you assumed." The alien fleet hung motionless in space, their weapons powerless, their engines contained, their deception exposed. They had come expecting to bully a primitive species into submission. Instead, they found themselves trapped by a civilization that had taken their own technology and made it better. Walker stepped forward. "Now then," he said to the stunned alien commander, "I believe it's time to discuss new terms. And this time, Earth will be doing the talking."